Hi, Anna.
Hi, Eric. Good to see you.
Yeah, likewise. Joel, Jordan, hello, everyone.
Hello. Hey, Eric.
All right, so I'm in a co-working space now, and I forgot my charger. I got a new laptop, and supposedly it has 8 hours of battery life. I've only been working for 3, 4 hours, so I got 26%. So do the math. Hopefully, I can make it through. They did lend me a charger here, but it's not working. Anyway, I think we'll get through 30 minutes. What do you think?
Let's give it a go.
Let's
All right,
try.
all right.
Although it's possible that the outlets aren't working.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we'll make do. It's just efficient about it, I suppose. All right. Hi, Joel. I think you're new here.
I am, yeah.
I'll give my 30-second spiel. Been part of the JSC now for a year and a half. I'm no longer sort of active in the sense that I was moderating two job search councils a while back. They've all since moved on. For the past, what, 12 years, 13 years, I've been doing recruiting, particularly for venture-backed companies. In a prior life, I was in software product development, product management, and former life, I was in engineering, mechanical engineering specifically. So I've had a little bit of a eclectic path, and I just do this to I do this every week just to kind of give back a little bit. Really, there's not much structure other than sort of AMA, ask me anything, and I'll give you my perspective as a recruiter with the thought that maybe some of my perspective will help shed some light and help you navigate the job search more efficiently, effectively.
Cool. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, cool. I guess that's my little spiel. Happy to dive in any questions or anything you guys want to dive into.
I just had a quick follow-up for you, Eric. I think
Yeah.
last time we talked, you mentioned that. So I asked about how skills are viewed on LinkedIn. And you mentioned that your assistant might send me the recruiter view,
Yeah.
but I
And
never got that.
I never did that. Okay. Let me just make note of that. I thought I remember doing this or making that and I forgot to whom. So I'm gonna make I'm gonna make note, Anna. And actually, can you do me a favor and just drop your LinkedIn link profile in the chat?
Yeah, I can do that. I can give you my email as well if that makes it easier to send whatever works.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be great.
Jordan, I have a few questions on working with recruiters. I think there's you know, for the last, I'd say, I don't know, 10 or 12 years of my career, I've always had success having executive recruiters from the big firms like Spencer Stewart or Korn Ferry or some of these other bigger ones reach out. But I'm not sure how to reach out to recruiters at companies specifically. I don't know if you have any advice on taking a target list of companies and then reaching out to them, or what's your advice or approach
Yeah.
on that?
Yeah. So this is a commonly asked question. And my response is to you have to understand sort of the mindset and kind of the situation that recruiters are, are typically dealing with, right? They get a lot of inbound, right? And so
Mm,
a lot of times they'll tune out the inbound. And a lot of the inbound that I get is usually leading with an ask. Hey, can you make an introduction? Hey, can you spare 15 minutes with me? Can you jump on a Zoom call with me? Hey, can you review my resume?
yeah,
Hey, so a lot of times recruiters get inundated with inbound outreach where the folks are leading with an ask, right? And so because of that, a lot of recruiters just tune it out, and a lot of times you won't even hear back, right? And so I guess one is you have to find the right recruiter, and then you have to figure out how to sort of multi-prong drip campaign them in terms of engaging them, leading with some sort of value. And so, yeah, so that would be my quick 30-second, right? One thing I recommend is like, a lot of times it's important to understand like what the incentive structure is for recruiters, right? And
yeah,
depending on the kind of recruiter they are, they might be an internal recruiter, an external recruiter, they might be more senior, full desk, meaning that, if a full desk recruiter is someone that's in charge of sort of client development as well as executing on the requisition, on the searches. More junior recruiters tend to be not full desk, right? They're not in charge of business development. They're really just in charge of really executing on the searches, right? So sizing up the recruiter that you might encounter on LinkedIn is important because then you can understand, the scope of the role and what might be important to them, right? A full desk recruiter is concerned about soliciting new requisitions, new clients, whereas the junior recruiter is less concerned with that. So understanding their mindset, understanding their incentive structure, and then sort of appealing to that in some ways, right? Okay, the stuff I'm sharing with you, a lot of times people don't do this. They don't. They don't say, they don't sort of uh, drop the carrot in front of the recruiter to suggest, hey, if we work together, I might be able to add some value to you. And I understand what value, presumably I understand what might be valuable to you, right? It's oftentimes just led with an ask, and then you'll be met with
Yeah.
silence. Yeah. Some other ways that you can sort of get on recruiters' radar, and this is what I was alluding to earlier with respect to sort of drip campaigning, is see what those recruiters are engaging with in terms of content, like on LinkedIn. Are they commenting or liking certain content or posts out there on LinkedIn? If they are, you can kind of understand what might resonate with them, what's top of mind for them, right? And then you can start to engage actually in that content. You might have a unique perspective around some of that content. And a lot of times when you put a comment in somebody's post, actually, I don't know how this works. The person that posts it will oftentimes get some sort of notification. But if you're I don't know if everybody that's posted on that post or everybody that's commented on that post will get a
Yeah.
notification if you comment on it. It could be something you could experiment with. And then there'll be a little bit of a name recognition there. So if and when you do reach out, there'll be a little bit of name recognition. The other thing too is when you reach out, you have something to talk about. Hey, I noticed you commented on this post, whatever. I appreciate your perspective. It was really helpful because of this. Have you thought about this? Blah, blah, blah. It gives you some frame of reference, right? Again, as opposed to the generic, hey, can you spend 15 minutes with me? We can
Right.
jump on a Zoom call, talk about this position, right? It's boring and everybody ignores that. Recruiters ignore that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not making it an ask. I'm more or less reaching out as a peer and just kind of networking and then saying, do they always see this though? Like, hey, if you ever need anything, reach out. You can leverage my network as well. Because does that matter at
It's pretty
all? Or is
common.
it more of like everyone says that?
It's pretty common. Take it to the next level,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Um, it's sort of like, sorry, I have a friend that has cancer, right? And he just discovered this a few months ago. And the generic thing is, hey, if there's anything you need, man, let me know. Take it to the next level because everybody says that. It's
Yeah.
like knowing what you know about the person. I mean, you might not know much, but knowing what you know about the person, what might they need? Make an assumption about what they might need and just do it, right?
Okay.
And so that would be my thought is, and I guess my perspective here is kind of sharing with you what I see as the norm. That way you can understand that baseline and then you could separate yourself from the norm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Good advice. Thanks. I'm also interested in what you're going to send Anna. I don't know if you had, it was sounded like something like how to optimize your LinkedIn profile for recruiters or anything like, is that like
No,
a
so the
checklist
context
of some
was,
sort?
and I was wondering what is the view of a recruiter? What is the view of her profile to a recruiter via LinkedIn Recruiter? So LinkedIn Recruiter is a
Oh,
subscription or the platform that recruiters use when they're doing the recruiting work, right? It's different from the unpaid version that, most people see. And so I was gonna send her kind of that view just so she can have some perspective.
okay. Do you mind
Erica,
go ahead. Go ahead, Anna.
sorry, I was going to say along those lines, is there any way that us mere mortals can get access to a view of that, like not necessarily on LinkedIn, but like other recruiter platforms? Like, is there a way to like create a temporary like recruiter profile or something like that?
So LinkedIn Recruiter is quite expensive, right? I think LinkedIn Recruiter and I think Sales Navigator are LinkedIn's that and ads are LinkedIn's big revenue generators, right? And
Hmm.
so LinkedIn Recruiter could be pretty expensive. I don't know that there's a way to get a freemium version of LinkedIn Recruiter. And I've never done this, but you might be able to do like searches online for even what you and I have been talking about that view. So LinkedIn Recruiter, what it does, you think about LinkedIn, it's just a huge CRM. It's a huge database of people, right? And what LinkedIn Recruiter offers that to people that hold its license is ways to access that database more effectively. So the query parameters, the query fields are easier to use. They're more nuanced, right? You can get to what you're looking for more quickly. as far as the view of things like you and I talked about with the skills, I don't know that, and I don't know this off the top of my head. I don't know that they're dramatically different than what you see as far as the profile. But the big thing with LinkedIn Recruiter is it really helps manage the motion for sourcing, outreach, engagement, as far as sourcing as well. Like you build a query, a search query, and now you can tweak and tune that more effectively in LinkedIn Recruiter. You can save the search query parameters. There's organization tools like folders and things like that. Again, it's really to support the collaborative motion around sourcing and recruiting and building pipelines. And similar to Sales Navigator, right? It's a similar kind of motion. I mean, I don't know if you have your own company, you might be able to get a demo with a LinkedIn salesperson. They can demo LinkedIn Recruiter for you. That's
Yeah,
one
makes
way.
sense.
Then they're going to start hassling you with a bunch of emails and saying, oh, if we discount this. So I don't know.
Gotcha.
Eric, how do you think the world of recruiting is handling all of these layoffs? It seems like there's a massive wave of talent now in the market and even
Yeah.
fewer roles out there. What's it look like from a recruiter's perspective?
I mean, these cycles have always happened. Not to be sort of what do you call that? Doomsday person, but like it feels like this is different. And I don't know, maybe it's a confluence of sort of, AI with sort of our economic cycle. I don't know, but with respect to how it's affecting recruiters, like recruiters are they're getting challenged to do more with less. They're getting a tremendous amount of inbound. So the new problem, I mean, this is an age-old problem, but maybe it's just amplified right now. They're getting inundated with more inbound per
Yeah,
requisition. The new challenge is like how do you sift through and sort of identify the candidates with the strong signals, right? And me as a recruiter, I'm using AI to kind of help with some of that stuff. You know, um, I guess one thing that I've seen is, there's a lot of these larger ATS companies that are looking at how they can layer in or augment their features with AI to kind of enable some of the automation there. I don't know that a lot of that stuff is personally, I haven't really used a lot of that in the ATS systems.
yeah,
I think I gave this example last week. One of our clients is using a platform called Ashby, an ATS platform called Ashby. And if you look at their website, they tout their AI integration into their features pretty well. When I'm in the Ashby platform, like I don't get it. I'm not using it, in other words. I'm not using their AI, even though it sounds really fancy. What I'm using as far as AI is my own prompting, my own custom GPTs, powered with my own knowledge-based documents. And I found that to be really far more helpful. Hopefully that answers your question, or at least helps a little bit.
yeah. I do have a follow-up question regarding AI. I know that recruiters don't want to see AI used just to create a resume that then is spit out. How do you use AI though to help integrate the keywords? Like I think it's JobScan. I go into JobScan and I use it to like review the job posting against my current resume and then try to have AI integrate some of the key terms. But then I'll go
Yeah,
through it and I'll reread it and make sure it's like in my tone and it's accurate and everything.
yeah,
How does a
yeah.
recruiter though see that? Do they think, it's meant AI didn't kick me out, even though it's kind of partial AI?
So I guess a comment on the whole keyword thing, right? The AI now is far smarter than just looking at keywords, right? It'll look at keywords and even synonyms that are used in context. So the AI can do that now, whereas before, whatever machine learning they had was less, I don't know, less nimble, I guess, right?
Mm,
So it's not so much about just keywords, it's about the context in which it is presented. Right. And so, yeah, I mean, one thing you can do, right? Like, is you can use your GPT to evaluate your resume against a certain job description. And I think that, things like JobScan or those AI-based resume helper apps are doing this in the background, but it might be beneficial for you just to do this on your own. If nothing else, just to learn, the sort of the input output thing. So if you
Yeah.
take if you and then you provide context around the company, so stuff you find on the website, or even just a link to the website, and then just configure the GPT or the Perplexity or
Hmm.
ChatGPT to have it look out on the internet. You provided the job, the company website, let's say, for example, you can provide it with a Glassdoor, a link, right? Any context you can provide. And obviously, one of the biggest pieces of context is the job description,
Yeah.
right? And most people just do the job description. They don't do the company, they don't do Glassdoor, they don't do potential hiring managers' LinkedIn profiles. Like all that could be context that can go into the GPT to help you refine your resume, right? Because most people just job description, resume.
Right.
It's other context that, especially like GPT-5 is becoming more sophisticated now. It could take far more context and, ask it to act as a recruiter or a career coach or, whatever combination you feel is appropriate. And then, have it give you some insights into, how your resume might be reading, where there's
Yeah.
opportunities to improve it, to highlight your experience. And that's a good exercise, I think, that most people should do. Because when you just defer to like the job scans or what have you, you're not entirely certain what it's doing in the background, Because all those
Yeah.
things are sitting on top of a large language model, right? They're
Right.
all
Right.
they have their own prompting that they're not really sharing with you, right? So it could be a good
Okay.
exercise to do it independently.
Good advice. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a kind of a related question. So I've been applying for chief of staff positions, and all of the existing chief of staffs that I've talked to that have recently gotten hired say, hey, take all of your experience for your like initial just after college jobs and put them under like previous relevant experience, assuming that they're relevant, right? And just list your, latest, most impactful jobs. But when I do that, that breaks the ATS. And I guess I'm not sure how to balance that. Should I follow their advice or what do I do?
So just I want to make sure I understand, Anna. So they're suggesting like some of the maybe older past experience, sort of aggregating that into something that's a little bit more compact on your resume. But you say that when you submit your resume, it's breaking the ATS. What do you mean breaking the ATS?
Yeah, so they all advise just creating a separate section that says something like prior relevant experience and
Yeah,
sticking like software developer jobs and stuff like that under that. And then like leaving all the like management jobs up on top. But if I do that, then like every single ATS I run it through kind of freaks out. So any suggestions?
I guess one, I think that kind of context would be valuable to me as a recruiter. Like if I'm looking for somebody in a chief of staff position that has hands-on technical, let's say, coding experience, and if that is a requirement, or if that is a like a bonus, then so yeah, it seems like that would make sense. As far I still don't understand what you mean by breaking the ATS. Does it mean that it's not giving you a place to put that information, or it's somehow choking on your resume when it's parsing it?
It's choking it. Like it parses the like the regular jobs normally, but then it
Yeah.
gets to the additional experience fields and it just starts filling in like random fields in like
Okay.
Workday or Greenhouse or
Yeah,
whatever other
yeah,
system.
yeah. I mean, I would assume that post parsing attempt, you can kind of try to sort of correct some of that stuff in the fields manually.
Yeah,
And
so I guess that's my question. Like, should I just stick with my full resume and let it parse normally, or should I, uh, like keep the shorter version of the resume and like try to attach that while manually correcting the
yeah, so
fields?
that's okay. So the question that I'm hearing is that so what happens with the ATS system, right, is that a lot of times it'll keep your resume in whatever format you upload it, Word, PDF. And I always recommend using a PDF, right? Because
Okay.
you have control over the sort of the layout, right? If you Word gets interpreted differently based on how it's being viewed, right? So I would always recommend uploading as a PDF. Secondly, the ATS systems a lot of times will try to parse your resume into structured fields, into app or database, right? And from a recruiter's perspective, a lot of times we end up just looking at the resume And then if we're like sending it around or pushing it around to internally to like a hiring manager or whoever, a lot of times they're referencing the resume. And I'll tell you right now, a lot of hiring managers, they hate using ATS systems. They hate like having to input data and they feel like a what do you call it a data input whatever an analyst, right? They don't like a lot of times they don't like doing it. So a lot of times resumes will get shared. And I'm speaking from my experience, right? And every company is different, every team is different. But from my experience, and I worked with a lot of teams, a lot of times resumes just get those are the things that get shuffled around via email. So how an ATS might be mapping your those fields, mapping the data from your resume into those structured fields. I don't know how important that is. So my thought is that I guess what I'm suggesting is you might lean to what looks more effective on your resume versus what might be more effective in terms of how it's mapped to the structured fields. If that makes any sense.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah. One thing I should say is I highly recommend creating a CV. And what I mean by a CV is basically a near exhaustive list of everything you've worked on. And it's for your eyes only, really, right? It's not a marketing piece. It's really a journal of things that you worked on. And the reason why this is important is because several reasons, right? Especially when you're in the job search mode. It gives you a chance to reflect on everything you've accomplished, which is quite valuable in terms of building confidence, right? When you look back at your story and you're like, shit, I did that. That's cool. I did this, right? This whole job search thing could be like a huge emotional freaking roller coaster that's just soul sucking. So when you reflect on your experience and you just reflect and you think about what you did, who you worked with, which again, I don't know if it's you, Joel, maybe it was you, Joel, that it was about networking, right? When you reflect on your experience, you're also thinking about the people you worked with. And that can help you sort of build lists of people that you should reach out to, right? So that's one. But just keeping a CV to help you remember of your journey, like all the details, right? And jot it down. And you don't do that in one pass or two passes, right? So it's a living, breathing document. They say that memory is like, what do they say about memory? Like it's fallible and it changes. Your memory changes, right? So do that exercise and continue doing that exercise as you think of these different stories. And as you have this document that's sort of living, breathing, and evolving, and you're sort of augmenting more stories to it, that is great context for your GPT, right? Now you can have it spit out a resume for you, right? And it could start plucking from that near exhaustive list of your experience. It doesn't have to be just work professional experience. It could be academic, it could be volunteer, it could even be whatever you want to put in there, that's you. And again, you don't have to worry about like, oh, should I put this, should I put that? Because it's just for your eyes only. You worry about that filtering and that presentation later on when you're building a resume for a particular opportunity. But that would be one thing I really recommend. It's a great exercise, and you're starting to document all the context that a GPT could really use in terms of it supporting your journey. And it's not just your job search journey either, right? It's like, yeah, there's so much you can do with that CV as you start to build that.
Makes
Yeah.
sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's all my questions, Eric. I appreciate the time today. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Jordan, anything top of mind? You've been kind of quiet if you're there. Okay, awesome. Small group. I love it. Thanks for the engagement. Anna is nafasha@gmail. That's your email address?
That's it. Yep.
Okay, awesome. All right, cool. I'll go into that LinkedIn. I'll do it myself. I'll just go into the LinkedIn thing right now and see if I can't send that out to you.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you all. Have a great
Thanks,
week
Eric.
soon.
Thank
too.
you.
Bye, Eric.
Bye.